Yes, Surya also said function calling itself. So why do we use recursion?
To
Why do
use
we?
function multiple times.
Uh, Somebody saying something? Zubair, you are saying something?
To use function multiple times.
To use function multiple times. Yeah, for to use a function multiple times, we can call the regular function, right? Why do we need to go for recursion? To avoid looping. That's not the actual reason. Why do we use recursion? Yep, any other answers? Or I'll try to recollect the concept for you. All right. So let's briefly discuss about the functions in the first place. So why do we use functions in the first place? We use functions for code reusability, right? To get result accurately, to avoid complexity in the loop. Yeah, that's one of the reason. To avoid complexity in the loop is one of the reasons why we use recursion. See, this is the generalized thing about the function is a block of organized reusable code which can perform a single or related action. Functions provide better modularity for an application and a high degree of code reusing. This is the concept that we have to remember, code reusing. So we use functions for code reusing. So we don't want to write the same lines of code number of times. We can write the for same purpose which we use multiple times in the code. So for the same code reusability concept, we go for functions. So if Python supports multiple built-in functions like print, input, so many things. We can create user-defined functions also. These are all built-in functions, which is nothing but predefined functions. We can have the user-defined function. How do you create a function with the help of def keyword? Def function name and with a little parenthesis and parameters inside that parenthesis, we can create a user-defined function. Yes, we defined a function just like this. We'll have a doc string. The first string which was present inside the function definition will be the doc string, which is used to create the documentation. The entire documentation of the project can be attained while using the doc strings. And return or return statement, the only language which can return multiple values at the same time from same function, that is only possible in Python. With the help of return statement in Python, we can achieve that. And this is how we generally simply create a function definition. We have seen some examples as well. So this is the general definition for an addition function which we create, and this is how we call a function. And here this return function is returning two arguments which were stored in two variables C and D. We have seen what are the types of arguments that we have. We have four types of arguments: required arguments, keyword arguments. This is an example of a keyword argument where we will tell the keyword, while function call itself will specify the keyword of that particular function. So we came to know the keyword argument. We have read about keyword arguments. We have seen examples. We came to know there is another state of another type of arguments called default argument. When you don't specify the age, here in this particular example, that age will be defaultly considered as 35. Here, if you see this particular print info function, we have given only name, but we haven't given any age. The age will be defaultly considered as 35. So this is why we give default arguments. And the next thing is variable length arguments, where you can define a function and where you can accept n number of parameters at runtime. So that is another reason why we use variable length arguments. We have seen that we will do it with the help of asterisk and the keyword. All the variable length arguments will be stored in a tuple, where you mention the name of the tuple with the help of star, which indicates then it can accept that particular tuple can take n number of parameters. We have seen lambda function, anonymous function. We have seen how do you create a lambda anonymous function, how do you call that anonymous function, and what is the syntax for it. All those things we have seen. What is the use of the lambda function? Anonymous can function directly call print because lambda function requires an expression. So they have their local namespace. It appears to be a one-line version of the function. So anonymous and one-line function. This is the syntax of the lambda function. And this is how you use a lambda function to sum two values. So there is no function definition. The advantage of lambda function, the another advantage of lambda function, it will not use any stack space. It will not use any stack space. And the return statement we have discussed earlier. So, and another thing is scope of a variable. This is how they will get stored in the stack. So here in this particular function, there is only the global variable. So it will be declared like this in the stack, and the value will be 10. So if you take this particular example, the second half of the slide, if you take this example, there is a local variable a is equals to 20, which is this one. A local is equals to 20, and here this a is equals to 10. It belongs to the global namespace. So it is called a global variable. We have seen local difference between the local and global variables and the matching forms, and these are all the little things that we have discussed. Today we will see what is meant by recursion, why we have to go for recursion, how the flow of execution will be there in the recursion, and how the flow of the function in the normal regular function it will be there. What is the difference in the recursion, that we will see in today's class. I hope I'm audible, right, for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is the screen visible at this point?
Yes, sir.
Just give me a sec. Excuse me. So recursion. So in this class, we will see the definition of the recursion, how simple recursive programs work, which means why we need to use, how we need to use, what is the advantage of it, what is the disadvantage of it. All these things regarding the recursion we will see in this particular class. So what is the recursion? So determination of a succession of elements by operation one or more proceeding elements according to the rule or formula involving in a finite number of steps. This is what recursion in a regular English meant. This is the general meaning of a recursion in a general English. What is meant by recursion? So that's a general thing. How do you use the recursion, the regular English word regarding the recursion? So what it really means, solution for each step is used to solve the previous step. So which means when you are moving forward, you need the help of the previously occurred thing. That is the actual meaning of the recursion. So let us say you are maintaining a B form, like you can take the example of the corona. So yesterday's corona patient will be transmitter for tomorrow. It's a recursion. Corona is the corona patient is infecting another corona patient. So if you count the number of patients in a daily manner, it is getting added with the previous count. So if you see any data projecting websites online, you can see, so the total number, how are you getting the total number? So total number of corona infected patients in the country, it is getting added with the result of yesterday's. Today's result will be there. Let us say 4,000 cases in Andhra Pradesh. Yesterday till yesterday, the total number of cases in Andhra Pradesh were 18 lakhs. 18 lakhs plus 4,000. So it is getting recursively added. It is getting recursively added. So that's the actual meaning. Solution for all steps together to form solution for the whole problem. రోజు calculate చేస్తారు, అవన్నీ యాడ్ చేస్తేనే final result వస్తుంది. So this is what actually it meant for. What is recursion in programming? Programming technique whereby a function calls itself either directly or indirectly. So when you wanted to call the same function by itself, then we can say that it's a recursion in programming. So what is a direct call? So when the function is calling itself, then it will be considered as the recursion. So this is how it will be looking like. So simple recursive call. You can see the code in the right hand side. I hope you are able to see the code on the right hand side. So this is how we try to define a simple recursive function. We will write some statements. We'll call the same function. We'll call the same function and we'll try to write some other statements. So whatever you want to write, you can write. So that's up to you, up to our programming need. So we'll try to write it. So indirect call. So that is one way of doing the recursion. And what is the other way of doing the recursion? So with by indirect calls. So function 1 calling function 2. So which means the flow of the execution shifts from function 1 to function 2, and from there function 2 to function 1. So we cannot call this as a recursion, but we are achieving recursion by this. So the same thing, the same thing we are trying to achieve with the help of other indirect calls. So this is how we try to write the same program. So how do we try to write this indirect call from F1 to F2 and F2 to F1? How the control is getting shifted. So this is how the sample program, how we can do that one. The syntaxes. For the first one, how do you do it with the first one, indirect call? So this is another way of indirect calls. So function F1 is calling F2, F2 is calling F3, and F3 is calling to so on, and it is carrying forward and so on so forth Fn. So the functions, the control flow is getting from F1 to F2, F2 to F3, F3 through Fn. It is carrying forward like that, and at the end Fn to F1, Fn to F1. Again the control goes back to F1. So these are all indirect calls of the function, and the simple thing for doing the recursion in sum of series. So if in one of your weak programs we have in one of your weak programs lab manual, if you see, there is an sum of series problem was there. Maybe not in functions, maybe in I think it's in lab week 4, I guess. There is a sum of series was there, sum of squares of the series. So 1 square 0 1 power 0, 2 square 3 cube 4 4 power 4, something like that. We have like that. So one experiment was there in such manner. So you can try to achieve that in this manner. So let us so def start. So this is the driver code now. So this is the driver code. So start is the driver thing. So these things will get defined. These things will not be executed. This function sum and function start will not get executed. So it will start the execution from this start statement, start function call. So now my control shifts to start. So it will take a number, it will convert it into the integer. So total sum, we are calling the sum function at this point, sum last. So now the control shifts here. Now the control shifts here. Okay, it was done. So how it is getting in a step-by-step manner. So we will do that. So now this is the one thing which is going to happen. Sum series total is equals to sum of 3. So let us say I've given the input as 3. So I'm taking the sum of series of 3. So this is what I've taken the example at this point. So now, so this is how it is getting called. Sum function will be called if 3 is equals to 1, return 1. Is this statement correct? No, false. This statement is false. Now it will go to else statement. Return 3 plus sum of 3 minus 1. So now it went to, as it is there, sum of 3 minus 1. Sum of 3 minus 1, it goes to sum of 2. Is 2 is equals to 1? No, it is false. So this return will not be worked. Now it goes to else statement. Return 2 plus sum of 2 minus 1. So again this will be computed, which means the control flow again has to shift to sum of 1. So it shifted. So now 1 is equals to 1. Is it true? Yes, it is true. Now the condition is satisfied. So till a condition is satisfied, the branching will happen. Branching will happen. So now 1 is equals to 1. It should return 1. So it will return 1 now. So this is true and it will return 1. So now the control goes back to again here. So this entire sum, it is replaced with the value 1, which is nothing but 2 plus 1. So it has to be 3 has to be returned to this particular sum function call. So now 3 has been reached there. Now it became 6. It should return 6 to the main function sum call. So that's what it is happening. So here at this particular time, the total variable, the value in the total variable will be 6, and that will be printed. That will be the end of the program. So I hope you people understand, or I'll try to repeat the same thing, how the flow of control is traveling between function to function or function call to function call, because we don't have multiple functions in recursion. We have the same function which is calling itself repetitively, right? So we'll try to do the same thing again. So we'll try to do it again from the beginning. Let us say that we are calculating the sum of n natural numbers. So first we need to read that particular n. That n is 3. So I have taken that n as 3. I have taken that n as 3 now. So let us take that particular thing, like let us take that particular n as 3. So now, so as these function definitions will not get executed, these are definitions, right? So it starts from start. So okay, it started from start. Now first I need to read n from the user, right? So I have taken the n from the user and I have stored in the variable last. Now I have to convert. As we know, input is a function which returns everything as a string. I need to convert that into my desired format. What's my desired format here? My desired format is an integer. I am converting the entered input into an integer and storing it in the same variable last. So now I am calling sum of last. Sum is a defined function, recursive function, which is used to calculate the sum of n natural numbers, right? So that's what it is happening now. So now I am calling the sum for the first time. So what is happening? So this is what it is happening. If you can see on the right hand screen, so some function call, the function execution, the flow of execution was transferred to this particular function. If 3 is equals to 1, it will return 1. As in this case, 3 is not equal to 1. The conditional statement goes wrong and it will goes to the else statement. As it goes to the else statement. When it is going to the else statement, so it should get back to else statement, and it again calls sum 3 minus 1. So again recursive call is happening here. So again sum of 2 will be called. So it will check the first statement, 2 is equals to 1, which is false, obviously. So then it will not return 1, it will go to the else statement. Again here sum of 2 minus 1, which is nothing but sum of 1, have to be called. So sum of 1, where if 1 is equals to 1, it is returned. Now in this case the conditional statement got satisfied, the condition got satisfied, so it will start returning 1 back to whomever it called. So it transfers back to the sum, the result back to 1. So now again 2 plus 1 will be called and it will return, this function will call return 3 to the calling function. So it happens this, and in the same fashion the ultimate result will go to 6. So now the value 6 will go and sit in the value of total. So now the 6 value will go and placed in this particular total. So now we have the recursive sum of each element present in this particular total variable, which is getting printed here. That's the meaning of this. You can write the same print with the help of format function, which you already know. That's up to you. And this is how the flow of execution will be there inside a recursive function. So requirements for a sensible recursion. See here, this recursion easily can become an infinite recursion. It is a very sensitive thing. There are some sensible things which we need to understand when you are writing recursion. Base case, progress is made towards the base case. So at what point you want to break this recursion? Why are you writing this particular recursive function? These are the two things which are very important in handling the recursion in a quite good possible manner, in a good manner. So when to use recursion? So when a problem can be divided into steps. So you cannot use a simple recursion for everything. So when you have a chance to divide the problem into subparts, then only it is possible to use recursion. The result of one step can be used in a previous step. So like I said, an example of corona counting patients, corona patient count. So when you have such kind of a thing, so which requires the result of a previous day. which yeah, factorial. Vishnu is saying that factorial. Yeah, that is good. So when you want to find the factorial exactly, so you need to have the factorial of uh, the previous thing. So let us say if you take 5 factorial, you have to write 5 into 4 factorial. You need to have 4 factorial to have mm, to calculate the 5 factorial. That's the meaning of it. So there is a scenario when you stop subdividing the problem into step. Here step is nothing but a recursive call, and to return the value achieved to the previous function call. When you have such kind of examples, we'll be taking recursion. Algorithm goes back to previous step with partial solution to the problem. This is called backtracking. If you see this example, so here this is all function dividing. Till this part, this is function dividing. Now you need to backtrack the thing. So how it is getting backtracked? So this is how it is getting backtracked. So backtrack. So the previous result we are carry forwarding it to the next step. So this is backtracking. So this is the reason when you have such kind of thing, we'll go for function recursion. All the results together. So it is not just one solution. So how many function calls happen till this particular point? All the results of that function calls together, we will get the result. So this is, if you have such kind of things in your function, in your logic, or in your solution, you will use recursion. That is the meaning of that. So when we use recursion, so when to consider alternatives to recursion, when we have to do that one. When a loop will solve a problem, we cannot go for recursion. There is no need to go for a recursion. So types of recursion. So we have two kinds of recursions: tail recursion, non-tail recursion. So for both types, a return statement is expected. So for both tail and non-tail recursion, we can expect two types. A return statement must be there. Without return statement, it will just become an infinite loop. So it has to return something, and it has to return according to some base condition that we have discussed earlier. A base condition should be there when it should return, when it should stop. So all these things has to be there. So without a base condition, it will become just an infinite loop. So tail recursion. What is the tail recursion? Last statement in the function in the other recursive call to that particular function. This form of recursion is easily replaced by loop. So this is what we do. So regularly by writing a factorial or non-factorial functions, we factorial or other Fibonacci sequence, all these things we will do in this particular fashion. But non-tail recursion is the very important thing which we need to do. So last statement in the recursive call, it is not recursive call. It is not a recursive call. This form is very difficult. So it is difficult to replace with a loop. So we will see some examples in real-time cases in the later section. So this is one example for a tail recursion. If you see the last statement here in this particular function call is a return statement. When you have such kind of a thing, we will call it as a tail recursion. This we can simply divide it with a loop. This is easy. This type of recursion we can completely close it. Use recursion and we can solve it out. Just a sec, guys. Yeah. So I hope I'm audible again now. Yeah. So here this is the tail function that I have written. So this is the function definition which will not get executed until we call that particular function. Now I am calling that particular function tail of 1. So now my control goes from here to here. Now my control transferred till to here. So now tail gets started execution. It's getting executed. So first these three statements will get executed. If the number is less than 3, I'll print the number. Tail number plus 1. Yeah, this is the carry forwardness. We are carry forwarding the recursive call, and this is the base condition. This is called base condition, and this is called the moving forward. So as we have discussed, so progress is made towards the base case, and whether is the recursion is being uh, processed towards the base case as it is moving forward or not. So these two are important. When you take this example, So in this particular case, if you take this example, this particular example here, so this is the base case. This is the base case, and this statement, this is the base case statement, and this statement is used for progress. This statement is the progress towards achieving that base condition. So, and this as the last statement in the function is a return statement, then we can call this as a tail recursion. This is one of the example for the tail recursion. These kind of problems, these kind of solutions can be easily achieved through the support of loops. But non-tail recursion, take this particular example. This is not a non-tail recursion. This cannot be simply done with the help of loops. This is difficult to do so. This is difficult to do so. If the example, the same example can be done it twice, both the ways. So this kind, it is difficult to do that. So as the we cannot do this kind of a thing with the help of a loop. So when there is a solution like this, we cannot go with the loop. A statement which is not a recursive call to the function compromises the last statement of the recursive function. Simply last function kanaka return రాయకుండా ఉండి మధ్యలో ఎక్కడన్నా రాయాల్సిన necessity vaste, we cannot call that as a tail recursion. It is called as a non-tail recursion. And drawbacks of recursion. Now, till now we have seen the advantages of the recursion. Every coin has two sets, right? So there will be definitely drawbacks of the function also. It uses a lot of memory and it takes a lot of time as well. But the code readability will be there. Code readability will be increased a lot. So, but the memory and time, it will take a little bit thing. So in competitive programming, whenever you are writing the competitive programming, you cannot use recursion simply. So it will take a lot of memory. So maybe the time might be getting consumed, or the readability of the code might be there, but it will take a lot of memory for doing with recursion. So it's one of the drawback. But when you're writing the code in the real times, so you have to use recursive calls. Benefits of using recursion: simply the solution is more elegant. So some problems will look more easier because you are using recursion, right? So it will look easier. So okay, inta chinnaga ayipoyindi, but the solution inta chinnaga chesesama. For example, if you take the example of you will see in a subject called data structures, you will be learning the binary search concept. So without binary search recursion, it will be a lengthy program. But when you use the binary recursion in the binary search tree, you will understand why why the solution, why we use the recursion in the more elegant manner. So easier to visualize solutions. You can easily visualize your solutions. For example, for some people and certain problems, so they use non-tail recursion, which is implemented some kind of backtracking algorithms. So these algorithms, so when you use recursion in your program, we can even say that you have solved the problem with the help of backtracking. Also, we can say that. So common pitfalls when you use recursion. What do the common mistakes that we do when we are using recursion? So these are the three pitfalls that result in the runtime error. So what are the common mistakes that we do when we are writing a recursive function call? No base case. We will not write a base case. That is one of the common problem. No progress made towards the base case. Another problem. So using too many resources. If you declare a variable, an additional variable which is not necessary in the recursive call, if your function call is branching for 10 times, you are creating memory for 10 different variables, because each variable has its own local space, right? So it creates another variable. So these are the things that we commonly do mistakes. So we will not write a base case. We will not write a progress towards the base case, and we might use additional variables inside the time. So these are the three common pitfalls that we do in writing a recursive function. So these three things have to be always been taken care when we are writing the recursive calls. So no base case. So here, if you see this will be a recursive call. There is no base case. So even in Python or any other programming language, we can go with the negative values also, right? Integer has both values in C also, right? So minus 125 here and minus 126 here and 125 in the right hand side direction. So we have both the sets, right? So and it can go on. It can go on. So there is no stopping condition. So you might get the value wrong. You might get the value wrong, but this will not get stopped. There is no base case. in this recursive call, and this is one mistake when we are doing with the recursion. So when does it stop? There is no way that I can say that I'm going to stop this particular function call. So no base case. This is one of the mistakes, common mistakes that we do while writing the recursion. So no progress towards the base case. This is a recursive call. This sum, it's calling itself. Okay, there is a base case now. There is a base case now, but when are you reaching towards your base? Sorry, this is the base case. This is the base case. You are returning something. That's okay. I can understand. Where is the progress? No progress towards the base call. The recursive case does not make any progress towards the base or stopping case. So stopping criteria, if in the loops we will be talking about stopping criteria, in the recursion we will be talking about the base case or stopping condition or base condition, whatever it is. So that stopping condition must be there. So where is the progress in moving towards that stopping condition or stopping base? That's not there. That's not mentioned. So using up too many resources. So you are creating a list, additional list. So every time this function is getting recursed, you are creating a new list and you are appending some things which we don't need or not required. So using up of too many resources. So what are the things that you need to remember when you're writing recursion? What is a recursive computer program that you need to understand? How to write and trace simple recursive programs, so that you need to understand what are the requirements for the recursion and what are the common pitfalls of the recursion. These are the common things that we need to understand regarding the functions and recursive calls. So a simple answer for all these things: a recursive computer program is nothing but a computer function which calls itself. So that is a recursive call. How to write and trace the simple recursive programs? So this is how we try to write a simple recursive programs. All these are the simple things. First you will write the program, and then you will go for the function call, and then you will branch the problem into various steps. So now you will go for the backtracking part now. So this is how you trace the recursive call. You need to write many examples as you can on your own, so that you can pace up your own thing. So you need to understand how the recursion is working on, what is happening, how it is happening. Now if you see the lab manual in the week 5 and 6, there are problems regarding functions and modules. There you can see some example, maybe your second bit or third bit. You are supposed to write the recursive calls for 3 functions: factorial, Fibonacci, and some more problem was there. Now you must be able to do those programs on your own.